Welcome to the United Awakening. My name is Mikael and today I'm going to give you a brief update on the strategies that we will use to create the awakening, the grand awakening. So what I'm going to talk about mainly is the false awakening, the great deception. This is what I see is coming next, because we are in a very sensitive development right now. As most people can see already, is that there is a growing number of people who do not believe in the mainstream media and have different ideas on what's going on right now in the world. There is awareness growing, and I think the awareness has reached so many as 10% that have serious doubt about what's happening right now, and that is this virus spread, this COVID-19. And many people, and I would say almost all of the people I've met in the alternative circles, they understand that this is not as the mainstream media is telling you. It is not really about this virus. It's about something else, and that is to create mass control, to control resources, humans, and to manipulate the whole world. This is the first time this has been going on such a massive scale. You could say it's a global fascism on the rise. But also there's a global awakening happening. And this episode is about the dangers with the revolution, because there is a false revolution, a false awakening happening at the same time as the true awakening. So we're going to take a look at this, how to understand it, how to work with these energies. And to give you some brief background, this is a strategy that's always been applied in history. If you look at the great revolutions, like the French revolutions, like the communist revolution, it follows a certain pattern. It starts with a true awakening happening, where people communicate with each other, they share their experience, they see the injustice that's happening around them, and they start organizing and creating a plan for how to act. This is the time we are in now, but when we look in the past to see how this evolves, it always follows this pattern. At this point, when there's enough people aware, so it actually creates a threat to the powers. At that point, the power that be will use the resources very wisely to infiltrate, to create controlled oppositions, to take over the institutions, organizations and such, that is being used to give force to this new revolution. And in the first place, they go in with resources, helping the revolution, sharing the knowledge, sharing their resources, helping. And this has been done for a long time now. There's a wide range of media, alternative media outlets, and as well different non-profit organizations that are greatly infiltrated, and in many times even started by the power that be in this controlled opposition, because they have all the power. We are basically in a war in between humanity and this little global elite. This global elite made out basically of the banking families, and on top of that all the mainstream media that actually works to kind of hide their agenda, hide their corruption. And so they already have a very, very strong position. They have infinite amount of money and has a possibility to use a lot of resources. So it's very easy for them to just set up controlled opposition, many fake different varieties. And in this first phase, they're creating credibility and trust. That means that they're doing what the people want them to do, both by sharing their resources, helping to organize things and such. But when this first phase is done, when they create this sense of credibility and trust, then they go to the next step. And the next step is always to centralize the information, the way that the information is spread in the community. A true revolution, or the true revolution that is happening on a local level, where informed people share their own experience, their own knowledge with each other. But the controlled opposition want to take a leadership role, so they are the center of this information. And bear in mind, in the beginning, this will be the same information that the normal or the average person or activist or alternative person would already consider to be true. But as they create the situation of centralizing information flow, they will start changing their agenda. And basically, they will start changing the whole narrative. They will start spin it a bit. In the beginning, they were just reporting on the important things that we all already discussed, which you could say is first of all the information about the banking system, how it's fraudulent, how it's controlling the whole world by the fact that the banks are owned by private corporations and families, and that the banks has the legal right to actually print money that is then their own. They create value out of nothing, and they choose how to spread this into society by investing it in companies that they want to support. This is the greatest fraud ever, and this is like the core issue. And if you look at other issues, it's the control, how this COVID and the war of terror and other things are creating this system where the governments or the secret services of the world has full control or full knowledge about what is happening, and they're controlling who you can see, how many people can be together, how you should act towards other people, and so on. So there's this control happening. And also obviously the mass media, and now even more important, Facebook and YouTube and similar channels are all being controlled in the same way to create censorship, to be able to manipulate the flow of information. And we also have an important question of the surveillance happening, but also the digitalization of humanity, where we become dependent upon technology and being traced to be able to do our day-to-day business. So it's all about this control network. But the control opposition, they don't want the focus to remain on this very important subject. So they take these subjects and they start skewing them. It's like we're squeezed in between these two different opponents. We have the mainstream media and the normal society who is just propagating their way of reality, which is basically a big lie. But then we have then this huge alternative network of information sending out false news, false information. So they're spinning things. And what they're doing, the reason why they do this is they want to lower the credibility of the alternative movement, the true awakening. And they do this by taking the subject and skewing them, making up false evidence, false claims and such about these important issues, trying to get the people to lose their focus on the real issues of the control of the person and the banking system and the mass media and the democracy as such, as also being fake. So if we look back at the revolution again, how this is being used in the past, in the communist revolution, you have this worker class being well organized, putting a lot of effort into changing the rights for the workers for the better. At that point, there is an elite insider coming in with money, with possibility to print their manifest and such, and they take a key role by wiping out the current leaders within the movement. They take a place as the leaders, they get the trust, they get the people to follow, they ignite a revolution that causes a horrendous amount of suffering, and they themselves take the new position as rulers, and obviously the real goal that the people wanted to pursue in the beginning are lost, and there is only fascism left in the end. So it's like they're just fooling the people. They tell the people what they want to hear only to be in the position to take over. And that is happening now. That is happening now on many scales. I would say I have this motto or idea that I expect everyone in the alternative scene to be controlled opposition, but I do not try to attack them, I do not try to oppose them, but instead I try to cooperate with them. This is the key that I want to give to you, to understand that there is this control opposition, but also understanding that we can use their resources to our advantage. It's about being smart. This is a chess game. They are trying to sacrifice a few pawns, get us lured into their agenda so they can take us. But we need to be smarter than that. We need to see from the beginning that they are leading a false revolution. We join the false revolution only to take it back at a critical point. You see, we will infiltrate the infiltrators. We will act as double agents. We will join all these fake revolutionary structures, and we will, at the right time, make sure that we break free from any centralized control and that we create a united plan together, that we stand as leaders for our own destiny. So we go back to the false revolution. You can see the false revolution because they are focusing on the wrong issues. Maybe not always, not in the beginning, but they will skew it to more extreme views. For example, there is plenty of evidence that 5G is not healthy for us, that it affects us, but the false information that is being spread is exaggerating the dangers of 5G, talking about exotic weapons that it can be used for, mind control, all kind of things that is possible. It is possible, but it's not the focus point. They're shifting the focus point from the real heavy things that we need to keep our eyes on. So the 5G, in reality, what is the biggest danger with the 5G that we can actually see and touch upon? Well, it enables the controlled society to operate fully, because it enables live streaming from all places of the world at the same time. That then can be analyzed automatically with artificial intelligence to have a complete knowledge about what's happening everywhere. And this is not good for us, because the ones who are centralizing this knowledge, they are our enemy. It's the global banking cartel and their people and families around them, these top companies that all are connected in some way together. It doesn't need to be like there is one evil scheme and one evil leader. It might also be true, but all these high-ranking people that's up there, they are connected, because they can't afford to have a loose thread that might oppose them. So they're all well informed about each other, and they have their own agreements. It's like different families of mafia, you could say, that are working together, sharing the different areas of Earth to control and manipulate. And they all have similar objectives. It's to control, it's to to be sure that they can continue as they always have, and that they can also continue with their type of lifestyle, which is very much into greed and lust and hatred. So they are trying to switch the focus from the true information to false information that is not well documented. Could also be true information, but it's not easy to verify. So if you look at any group that's working towards this revolution, to this awakening, if they're starting to propagate things that aren't really easy to verify, for example, if you look at the streams now, there's a lot of talk about secret tunnels with sex slaves and trafficking. And while this surely is a big problem, it is taken to extremes, and there's no proof. As long as you're following a narrative where there's no proof, even if it would be true, nobody will follow you. If there's no safe trail of evidence showing that this is true, easy to prove, it will not be a possibility to use this issue to gather all the people behind a common cause. We need to look at the things where there is factual evidence, like the banking system and the mass media, where it's clear to everyone, if you look at the fact that they are reporting things that are not true. They are making up news, and they're censoring news as well. There's many of these topics. For example, you could see, well, everything. I don't want to tell you too much about these different topics, because it also is quite sensitive. Many people have already fallen into these issues, and they're already caught in this false news flow. So I just want to tell you, I don't want to complain and say you're wrong. We're all wrong to some degree. What I want to tell you is, make sure that the subject you're choosing have very, very credible evidence. And that's not just one or two doctors or a bunch of doctors claiming this on their feed. There will be hundreds of false news sources and doctors playing this false game tricking you with their false evidence, skewed evidence. So look at the issues that you're following and make sure you're really following the most important things. For example, the mask, to have masks. This is a very important thing, and it's spread a lot in Germany and other places, that the lockdown measurements with forcing people to wear masks and forcing people to not gather. This is an important issue, and while it's not super easy to definitely prove that it's quite useless measurements, at least you can see that this affects us very, very directly. It's a direct thing. So this is the second thing. Your issue should have proof, but it should also have direct impact. Follow issues that are directly impacting you, while the false revolution will just try to get you to the less important issue. That could be global warming, for example. There's no clear evidence that this global warming is caused by CO2, and there's so many other reasons for the extreme climate we can see. For example, a lot of toxics are being let out in nature, and trees are being cut down with monoculture farming, these kind of things. So here, that's a good example for how you're skewing something. You see the problem. The problem is it's getting dry. Here, for example, where I am, the amount of water is really going down, and it's very dry. People are really looking for water. And so this is skewed in a way to say that this is to blame, well, the use of CO2 is the problem here, and that's causing this. But that's not the main problem. The main problem, to me at least, is that there's monoculture farming. Everywhere they're farming eucalyptus, and this eucalyptus is taking water from the ground, they're taking nutrition, and then it's only being cut down, transported away, made into toilet paper, sold overseas. This is the real problem. There is no forest anymore because they cut it all out. You couldn't, it doesn't matter if there's CO2 or not in the air. You cannot have anything growing if you cut everything down and ship it away, you know. So they're taking the real issues where the money is, they're hiding it and pushing this false narrative. Another thing you can see with the false revolution is that they will always promote violence and hatred, because the main thing that they're doing is creating this divide and conquer situation. And that means that they want to split people. So they want the normal people to be extremely normal, to believe in the mass media, to believe in this fake world. But they also want the alternative community to believe in an extreme version of the truth, or not the truth anymore, the extreme version of the opposite. So you create this opposite that in the mass media it's painted out like right-wing extremists, conspiracy theorists, esoteric people, spiritual extremists and such. They're kind of trying to make it look like that they're this sheep against this extremist, and at some point they push these people together and create disturbance. And instead of actually joining together in a common cause, we're fighting each other, fighting each other's belief. But in reality, both sides are controlled. This is how they actually manage to accomplish their goals, by creating this struggle in between people who in reality are on the same side against this tiny global elite. That's what we need to know. So the solution is actually to do the opposite, to join together, even if we have different ideas. So you can see the false revolution will try to make people extreme, and they will try to make this alternative movement into a violent right-wing agenda. And they're succeeding by feeding this kind of information in all the networks, and also promoting people who are talking about it, financing people who are more right-wing. And I'm sure there's many like big media, alternative media outlets that are totally run by money from the banks. They might claim that they're selling health products and such and making money and being able to grow, but this is just a way to, it's a cover. In reality, they're part of this agenda. So violence is not the solution. We need to keep violence to the minimal. It's like the elite, they really like when the people they are controlling are fighting each other, and then to top it off, we go out and make a lynch mob and have heads rolling. Like in the French Revolution, where all the kings suddenly, and all their families and such, they get all their heads cut down and the people are cherishing. But in reality, the kings were not the top of the pyramid. The kings were in total control by the banks and by the Pope. And so the kings didn't really have real influence. And when you get into this situation, when the people are getting into this hatred, they are so easy to control, and the elite really seem to enjoy this, like it's a ceremony, it's a dark ceremony for them. They thrive on your suffering and your pain, and to ignite this kind of violence. So violence is never a part of the solution. We are non-violent. The true revolution is non-violent. Doesn't mean that we cannot use force to protect ourselves. I'm very much for using force, but not destroying property, not harming people that have different opinions, but rather if someone attacks you, you should neutralize this enemy with as little force as possible. And that could mean even to, obviously to cuff them, but even to break a bone or two if needed, but in a way that makes sense. You know, not going out and destroying, creating havoc. This is all controlled opposition trying to ignite hatred and fear in everyone. So we have the false revolution. They centralize their means of communication, creating one leader. They take the information and they start twisting it so it becomes false, it becomes extreme, and it becomes less important issue that comes into the center. And it's violent. They promote assassination of top characters. That's just a very clear thing. Secret military tribunals are going and assassinating high-ranking elite people. But remember, these are just puppets, just like the kings. All of them are puppets. Like a guy like Bill Gates, for example. You think he's there actually as acting from his own judgment, doing this? Well, he is not. I'm pretty sure he just, as any president, as any high-ranking diplomat or politician, they are following the script, and if needed, they will be sacrificed. So there's no reason to murder these people. They are, in a way, just as ignorant and innocent as everybody else who also participate in this global scheme. It's not like nobody is like without guilt here, because most of us are just going along with this, using all this technology and such, even though it's made from slaves. And we basically know it. Everybody knows that we are in the Western world, we're living this high lifestyle just because slaves are providing it for us, and me as well. I need to just live in this world. You will have to use slave labor, even if you're really trying hard and working a lot to avoid it. You will be a part of it. But we can remedy this all by using this to create this true revolution where people will stand united and everyone will live in abundance. We will create a world where we stop using unnecessary resources, instead finding the good things in life that is much more valuable than possessions. As everybody knows, possession does not make you happy. Owning and controlling only creates fear and problems. And the real gift of life is love, care and such. And that we have as much as we want of. So to actually create a abundant planet is very, very simple. As long as we can get to clarity, as long as we can get this master plan together and not be run by this false negative influence that is the mainstream media and the banks and the false revolution as well. So now I explain this, and you will probably know what I'm talking about, this false revolution. And there are many of these groups, and I would say again repeat, like, assume that most groups and alternative outlets are controlled opposition. I would do that. But again, join them, because we need their energy, because they are also anticipating that we will understand that it's control opposition. So let's repeat one thing again. You have all the people, from all the people, 10 people are waking up to something is wrong. From the 10% that's waking up, there is only 10% again who understands the real path. And 90% of the alternative movement will follow false gurus, false news anchors, and so on. So we have again a trend of people, most people are just following the flow of information, which is controlled. So if we, the little 1% who actually understand things, if we're trying to create a conflict there, if we start accusing all these people and moments for being wrong, for leading us in the wrong way, we will soon just be in war with our own. This is just to divide and conquer again. We cannot afford it. We cannot point our fingers to one individual and say, you are fake, you are controlled opposition, because this is also just part of the plan. It's part of the chess game. They want that. They like that. And we're not going to fall for this bait. Instead, we're going to join them. We're going to join all these movements. The climate change movement. We're going to join the Extinction Rebellion. We're going to join the QAnon. We're going to join the Greenpeace. Everything. Everyone who claims to have a good agenda, even the United Nations, Agenda 21 and such, all of these things that many people understand that these organizations partly or fully are controlled opposition. But then we need to remember that 90% of these people or more, or 99 of all these organizations, are good-hearted people that are just fooled into follow this centralized line of thoughts and fooled into using their energy to share less important and false narratives. But they're good-hearted. This is what I want to come to. We join them because they have a good intention. Any organization that has a publicly positive narrative, we will join them. And then in reality they want to control and confuse us, but that we already know. And that's where the United Awakening is coming into place. If we know that the controlled opposition is always there, and at any time this organization that we are joining can start trying to lead us into the wrong direction with false information, with violent action and such. If we know that, at some point we will just shift the narrative. We will shift it, we will spin it again back. And this is where the United Awakening come into place, and the strategy that we've been working on here and in my circles for many years. And this strategy is very simple, and I will just boil it down here, and you can read more about it on uniteawake.com and fractalcircles.org, for example. And the idea is that we will, at some point, and already now, we will create a decentralized network. And in this decentralized network, we will create a common plan, one plan. I say one planet, one people, one plan. This is what we need to do. And this we will do at the same time as we're joining all these organizations. So the basic idea is that we're using the fractal circles as a means of organization. And that means that we're basically working only in local groups of 6 people, as 6 is the optimal number for human interaction. It's the fastest, most efficient way to discuss and to act together. So by going into this local group, you discuss the issues that's top priority for you. That is to create a strategic overview. You look at the problems, their causes, your vision for how to solve them, and a plan of what you can do in your group. So this is what we need to do. Take control of what you want to do. Instead of like following only some centralized mean and follow their information, you talk from your knowledge, your perspective, and you create a plan from your knowledge that you have. That's truly independent and sovereign, and each of these group of 6 can act without any other leader, without any other group or interaction. So it's already powerful. You can just go together with your friend and create something now that has possibility to create impact now. So 6 of these circles of 6 people will go together again, and they will create this strategy together. So the 6 different strategic plans come together to see what is the most important issue from all of these 6 groups, and you create a new higher plan. And this then continues, so you have a cluster of 6 circles, you find 6 clusters of 6 circles, and at that point you join these plans together. In this way we create the mass plan, we the people. And only good people that we trust in the circles, we have the possibility to share this information with the other circles, making sure that this network will not be infiltrated and controlled. And this we can do. This is the plan, this is the United Awakening, and this is what is going to cause the true Great Awakening, the true revolution, the love revolution, because we, the people, we will be able to find the 6 top issues that we need to focus on, that has proof that is top priority. And we will be able to create a plan for how to deal with the global elite by leading example of peaceful demonstration, peaceful action, and different way of informing people, by celebrating life, by showing good things, by helping each other and sharing. We will create a strong network that will thrive, and it will take over. And in my thoughts, I think the false awakening is unstoppable, because they are already so powerful. Even if we, let's say, the 1% who actually understands this knowledge, even if we try hard, we don't have the resources to reach even the 10% of people that are getting awake, even less the whole 100% of people. And they are always getting bombarded by the false news from the mainstream media and the alternative fake news media. So we will have to ride out the first wave of the false revolution, but being knowledgeable of this, we will not be lured by their propaganda. We will not share the fake news. We will look at all this news that comes to our feed, and we will only share things that we see is true. And that means that we need to be fact checkers ourselves. We cannot just continue sending everything that has like a nice headline, because 90% of everything that most people share in these alternative groups are just propaganda. 90%, that much. And very few people are actually thinking about what they're sharing. It's just sensation news, kind of. Whatever headline has the most sensational, like underground tunnels with thousands of people found, and they're all sending them with helicopters to Alaska and to a secret hospital. Like this kind of nonsense news that has no support in evidence. You cannot continue sending this nonsense. It will just make you look like a crazy right-wing conspiracy theorist, which basically you're becoming by just doing this without thought. So you don't necessarily need to know what is true, but you should not just continue repeating this false narrative to other people. It is not helping at all. It is creating problems only. Instead, go together with a group of 6 and create your plan. Create the top priority issues and focus only on these issues. Don't send anyone else news. Find news about these top issues. Find this news yourself. Don't just take from your feed and share. Go out on the internet, search, and find the information about the top issues and share that information. That you can do, and then you're part of the true awakening. But as I said just recently, the false awakening will happen. And don't go against it, but infiltrate it by sharing this knowledge to people about how they can start making their own plan, making the strategies, how they can connect with a local group. Then when this first wave of the false awakening is coming, we can lessen the damage by spreading enough awareness into people so they know that we will not follow centralized ideas and violent plans. We will just say, no, I don't think that's a good idea, and then they will need to adapt to your awareness. If the group awareness of this organization is rising, then they need to adjust and they need to align to us, because otherwise they will lose all these people. So they will need to unwind a bit of their propaganda and the false news. We need to check that they have the facts. If they're sending news without fact, ignore it. Tell them, well, this is nonsense. You cannot just share your secret insides to us. It is of no value at all to have this secret information, what's happening. This you can do, and then when the false awakening is failing, because there will just be riots on the street with destroying the true awakening with their thing, which has already happened. Like we can see in Germany how they were protesting the lockdown, and there is quite a big group of people being like either Nazis or having some very strange belief in the crowd, and they get always the attention and such. So this will happen all the time and create this tension, but we will lessen the tension. And when enough people see that this false awakening is leading nowhere but down into chaos, into conflict, at that point we will start the true awakening, the united awakening, where we take our sovereignty back. We create a fractal network, and we use this network to create our master plan and to act upon it and we don't need any leader or centralized hub of information. We can do this from word of mouth. We can organize ourselves on the ground, and we can do this, and we will do this, and we will succeed. And when the 1% of people on the earth who are in the know, that understand this information that I'm telling you now, when we can join together and make a master plan together, when we, the hundreds of thousands of people that are truly awake to this thing, that understands how we can live in peace and harmony, and start working on our own issues, finding inner peace, when we can go together and create a master plan, we will win the support of 10 times more people surrounding us that doesn't really understand, but can see that we are coming from the right place. And when they join, everybody will join. What we need to do is to find these people, these spiritual warriors, and connect together and form a basic core fractal, create a common strategy, and everyone else will follow. So if you are one of these people, don't keep in the shade, don't hide away. Step forward, take charge of your life, and go into the battle. Join us. We are many. If we join together, we will have immense power, because our hearts are pure. We act out of love and compassion, and this is a million times stronger than any dark agenda. And when we join together, our numbers and our power will multiply so fast, so strong, that this will be over in no time. We, the people of knowledge, of wisdom, we are increasing as steady as the ocean is rising by the power of the moon. No sandcastle on the beach can stand that kind of force. And compared to our power, our spiritual power, and our vibration that is getting higher and higher, nothing can stand in our way. But to speed this up and to help and to do your part, to save as many as possible from suffering, come together, join us. Join me at uniteawake.com, fractalcircles.org, and join the Love Revolution. Thank you very much for listening to this, and I hope to hear from you soon.